Hello everybody. Today I am going to do a soft-spoken video about some of my favorite Nintendo 64 games. I recently noticed that I hit over 6,400 subscribers. So when I saw that 64, I figured it was time to finally do a follow-up to my whispered Super Nintendo favorites. This list is incomplete and is not in any particular order. There are some games that are my favorite on the Nintendo 64, but I don't have a physical copy of it. I might have it on the virtual console on the Wii or the Wii U, but I don't have the actual cartridge in my possession. I will probably mention some of those games in passing. Now, some of these games are critically acclaimed and loved by everyone who owned a Nintendo 64. But others are much more unknown or maybe even critically panned. But I still love them for nostalgic reasons, and I still play a lot of them today. So, I think I'm going to start off with a game that is not the most well-known Nintendo 64 game, but is also not an unknown game either. This game is Diddy Kong Racing. This game is a lot of fun, and I think that people could easily write it off as a Mario Kart clone, but that is simply not the case. What Diddy Kong Racing did was give us another game in the same format as Mario Kart 64. You cannot simply write off Diddy Kong Racing as a copy, because it is so fun. It is so well done. It's an incredible game, and along with a really good racing feature, there is also an adventure mode that you complete by racing and completing various mini games and boss battles. So, Diddy Kong Racing, I've put many hours onto this game, and I highly recommend it if you're a fan of N64 games and you haven't played this game yet. Next, I'm going to go with a game that is unknown, relatively, I would guess. I have not heard of many people speaking about this game. It is not critically acclaimed or anything of the sort. This game is called Tetris. My grandmother found this game at a yard sale a little while after the GameCube came out. And it's a puzzle game. A really fun and interesting puzzle game. It's arcade style. It feels like a game you would see in an arcade. And I think it could have been more popular, maybe if there was a few things changed for the balancing of the game and the puzzles. But it's very strange. You are given shapes, kind of like in Tetris, and there is a ground, there's a plane, and the shapes you're given, instead of giving them to you like this way, like in Tetris, they're given to you this way. And as they hit the floor of that plane you're given, the floor rises in the areas in the same shape as the shape that came down and hit. And you're trying to create ponds so that water can fill in the areas that you create with the shapes. In fact, you can kind of see it on the sticker. You can see in the background, behind the wet tricks, you can see puddles of water on a tiled surface. When you do get the puddles filled up with enough water, rubber ducks will get into your little ponds. And it's just kind of adorable. I cannot necessarily say that this is a great, fantastic game. But if you ever get the chance to try it out, or maybe one day I'll play it for the channel, just because it's a really unique little game, and I think it's worth a look. So, Wet Tricks, you probably haven't played it, but it's a cute arcade style game that is pretty entertaining. Next, we're going to go with a game that I think everyone knows about and everyone wants a sequel to. Pokemon Snap. So, in the new Pokemon Sun and Moon that is coming out later this month, there is a Pokemon Snap-esque feature. So I think that Nintendo and Pokemon, I think they know how much people loved this game. So perhaps on the Nintendo Switch, we will finally get the Pokemon Snap sequel that we have been dying for. In case you have not played this game, it is not your traditional Pokemon game. In Pokemon Snap, you are in direction of Professor Oak. He wants you to take pictures of Pokemon, rare Pokemon in particular, and in very rare positions. Professor Oak gives you various items to use to get the Pokemon to do things that are interesting to photograph. And you can see there's several Pokemon in there. Professor Oak also gives you a mobile kind of car type thing that's on a track. So while you're in that vehicle, you're automatically taken through the level, kind of like a third-person shooter. And you take pictures of the Pokemon that pop up around you. And then Professor Oak, he judges your photos and you get points for the photos. And it's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of nostalgia to it, and it's an extremely short game. I think it might be another fun game to play on the channel. So, Pokemon Snap is not your traditional Pokemon game, but if you're a Pokemon fan, you should play it because it's amazing. Next is a game that everybody knows about, whether they have or have owned 64. I think everyone knows about Mario 64. Super Mario 64. This game is a classic. The N64 launched with this game, and it really set the standard for how a game can use a 3D world. This was the first open world 3D Mario game. There's several worlds in it, and you're collecting stars out of each world instead of running to a single goal post like in previous Mario games. So it was quite a departure, but it kept so much of the traditional Mario style that we all knew and loved previous to this game. So it was an instant hit, and of course a classic that I think everyone has covered in one way or another. This game is really good, even by today's standards. Honestly, the only thing, in my opinion, that held this game back from being 100% playable even today is the camera. This was the first foray into a 3D world for Nintendo. So there were some initial difficulties with things like the camera, but that is to be expected. Super Mario 64. If you haven't played this game already, what are you doing? Play this game. Next, we're going to switch gears back to a puzzle game. Another, as far as I know, fairly unknown puzzle game. That is Tetris. Tetris is exactly pretty much what it says it is in the name. It is spherical Tetris. It is Tetris in a 3D world. There are these spheres that are kind of like planets, and you have tetraminos, the Tetris shapes that are coming down. And like in Metrix, those shapes are going to land onto that planet, flat onto the plane, but you need to go around the entire planet and land the shapes in the right places. And the right place, actually, it varies depending on which version you're playing. And within this one game, there are various versions, ways to win. That's one of the biggest reasons I think this game is kind of sad that it was overlooked, because there are so many different modes that you can play, so there's a lot of hours of gameplay you can put into this without getting bored. One of the ones that was my favorite, there are these robot creatures you play as. Here you can actually see one of the robot creatures right on the sticker there. But one of them gets trapped inside the sphere, and you have to unlock it by setting off combos by putting the Tetris shapes into the right places. It's a very difficult game to describe, so perhaps I should put it on the list of games to play for the channel. If there's any of these games you'd like to see me play, just let me know in the comments below. So, Tetris. If you are a fan of Tetris, I recommend you try it out. You might like it, you might not, but there's so many different modes that I feel like you'll like at least one of them. Next is Bomberman 64. A lot of these games have 64 at the end of them. Bomberman 64 is a fun adventure game. It's a little strange. If you've played a Bomberman game before, you pretty much get the gist of it. He's a man and he uses bombs. And in this game in particular, he uses bombs for everything he does. He uses bombs to blow things up. He uses bombs to help him create pathways to get places. He uses bombs to solve puzzles. This is truly a Bomberman. And while the adventure story mode is a lot of fun and quite difficult, I think where this game shines for a lot of people is its versus multiplayer mode. Because this game was on the N64, you could take advantage of the fact that you could use 4 different controllers, therefore playing with 4 different people. And the multiplayer mode is so much fun. It's one of those games where you really have to mess your friends up, so, you know, that's always a good time. There are these worlds and pathways, and you are, as the viewer, the player, you're seeing it from above. And so each of the 4 people playing, they start in a different corner of the world, and you collect bombs and items that you can use to try and blow up your opponents. That's a simple way to put it. It's a whole lot of fun. I would play this on the channel, but it's not a very relaxing game. This would be a game that I would probably get angry playing, because it's a little weird. It's not a hard game in the sense like the puzzles are hard. It's hard in that some of the controls are a little odd, but it is still a lot of fun. It's got a lot of nostalgia for me, and I do recommend it if you have not played it. So, Bomberman 64. Play it with your friends, get mad at them, and then get over it. Next is another Mario game. We have Paper Mario, the original one. Now, I've played a lot of these games. I haven't played all of them. I think my favorite of the Paper Mario games is the one on the Wii, Super Paper Mario. That one was so much fun. But this is the original, and you have to give credit to the original. It was kind of neat how Nintendo was finally in this 3D space with the N64. And then they kind of did this throwback to their 2D world with Paper Mario. And it was a hit, a lot of fun. A good RPG, a good old classic turn-based RPG. And plus the characters in Paper Mario, the entire Paper Mario series, are always so cute and well fleshed out. The humor in it is always just, the word that comes to mind is delightful. The Paper Mario games are delightful. They are a delight to play and to experience. They are just fun, and they do present a challenge without becoming rage-inducing. This might perhaps be a good candidate to play on the channel. Paper Mario. If you like Mario and old-style RPGs, you should definitely check out this game. Next is another game that I think everyone knows about. Maybe not everyone has played it, but I think everyone knows about it, especially at this point. And that is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This game holds so much nostalgia for me. This was, of course, the first 3D Zelda, a series that Nintendo has had since the beginning. and they did a wonderful job with it. It was a hit and is now an absolute classic. I think so many people know about this game. I don't really need to go into the details of what it is or what it's about. It is Zelda. But I do have to mention, because I do not have a physical cartridge of it, I actually enjoy Majora's Mask, a sequel to this Zelda, more than Ocarina of Time. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is incredibly creative, and it's also quite dark, especially for Nintendo standards. And I would say it's a masterpiece. I really do think it is. What it did at the time that it came out, what it was. Majora's Mask is incredibly well done, and I would recommend playing both it and this game if you get the chance. So, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. These games are the kinds of games that as a gamer you're practically required to play at some point. The next game is another one that is, as far as I know, somewhat unknown. I just don't hear a lot of people talk about it. Some people. We have Mischief Makers. This is another strange little game. It's very anime. There are some, sequences, cutscenes, really little cutscenes between levels, and you can tell they're very anime-ish. You can kind of see, when I zoom in, it's got that very, well-known old-style 3D that you saw a lot on the Nintendo 64. And it's got the anime eyes going. And it actually looks much better in-game. The way they did the sticker looks way worse than how the game looks. But yeah, it's a weird one. You play this girl right here. And sadly, I actually don't remember her name. Whoops. It's been a while. But you, I think you're like a robot, and you live on this world with these spherical creatures, and you're trying to save them from what are often very mechanized baddies. And it's really difficult. I find this game to be very hard. I like the challenge of it. I like how unique it is, how different it is than other games on the N64, because it didn't really take advantage of the 3D space of the N64, besides the way that they did the models. So it's a side-scroller. It's like a dash side-scroller where you're having to solve puzzles, take care of enemies. I can't say that it's like Mario. I can't say that it's like Sonic. It's not like Donkey Kong. It's really one in its own. And very hard to describe because every world, every level is quite different and introduces a lot of new mechanisms as you go along. So, and also it has been a while since I've played it. It's not a relaxing game, so it's probably not a game I would play on the channel. It's, like I said, it is quite difficult, but it is very nostalgic for me. It's a game that we picked up very, very late in the lifespan of the N64. It may have been another yard sale find, but it's definitely a lot of fun. I wish I had more to say about it. It just really has been a long time since I've played it. do remember that each boss battle is unique and interesting. The stakes feel very high. You're always having to save somebody. And there is one level that is so different from all the other ones that involves an almost an Olympic style event. And you have to do these various events in a very specific way, or you cannot progress. And if you're a little child trying to figure out how to do it, you're going to be stuck there for a very long time. So, Mischief Makers. This is kind of just that random nostalgic kind of game that I like, and I don't really have a particular reason to recommend it, but I still think you should play it because it is just a lot of fun and very unique. I have one more game left, but before I go over it, I wanted to talk about a game that I don't have a physical copy of, and that game is Donkey Kong 64. Now, there is a physical copy of it somewhere within my family. Somewhere. It is a yellow cartridge. And this game is the completionist's dream or nightmare, depending on how you want to look at it. Donkey Kong 64 is a game that's all about collecting different items, which I really enjoy. You saw that I went over Super Mario 64, and that is another collection game. You collect stars and coins, the coins being optional, and you don't have to collect all the stars. And Donkey Kong 64 is kind of similar. You don't have to collect everything, but there is so much more to collect, so much more to explore, so many more areas to go to. So much, in fact, that Nintendo had to sell a expansion pack for the Nintendo 64 that plugs into the console and allows the game to run. Without it, the game will not run. There's that much in this game. You're collecting golden bananas. You're collecting little bananas. And you're collecting map pieces. You're collecting other things. There's a lot of things you're collecting. But the thing is, it's not just one character collecting all those things. It's multiple characters. You have Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, Trixie Kong, Lanky Kong, and Chunky Kong? Is it Chunky? That doesn't sound right. Anyway, there's a lot of characters you play. And it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work if you're a completionist like me and you want to get every single thing that you're supposed to get. But thankfully, it's not too hard to dredge through all the levels. All the levels are beautiful and well designed. Very creative. The music is fun. It's a pleasure. It's another one of those games that's just a delight. It's funny. It's a Rare game. The company Rare. They kind of have a reputation for having good humor. Alright, so now that I'm finished talking about Donkey Kong 64, I'll go over the last cartridge. And this would be close to probably my favorite Nintendo 64 game if I had to say one was. This would certainly be in my top 3. Maybe even my top 2. Banjo Kazooie. You may have heard of Yooka-Laylee. It's a game that's coming out, I think, pretty soon. That I am super excited about because it is by the same team that made this game. It's going to be kind of like a spiritual sequel to Banjo Kazooie. And this game is amazing. Even today, this game is amazing. I went back and I played through this entire game and I completed it 100%. I got all the puzzle pieces. I got all the jiggies. I got all the Jinjos. I got everything. And it's so much fun. It's not the first time that I have 100% of this game because it is just that fun. It's another game that is a delight. It's a rare game. As I said before, there is the Rare logo. Rareware, excuse me. It was Rareware back then. The character designs are very fun, very unique. The gameplay really did a great job of using the new 3D space that the N64 gave. I would say an even better job than what Super Mario 64 did. And similar to Donkey Kong 64 and Mario 64, this game is about collection. As I was saying, I collected everything. The baddies are so much fun to look at. The game has so much character. The music fits really well in with the humor, and each level feels very fresh, even though I've played them all a million times. Click Clock Wood, I think, is a milestone for games on the N64, the way they did it. It was a world split up into 4. Each room had the same world in it, but it was slightly different based on the season. If you've never played this game, the sticker actually gives a pretty decent summary for you. You can see that you've got the bear, whose name is Banjo, and the bird, whose name is Kazooie. And Kazooie stays in Banjo's backpack. She helps him fly and glide, but she's also got a smart mouth, so she gets him into trouble. But Banjo's also a little bit slow, so he needs Kazooie. This game is really unique for one thing in particular, in my opinion. There is a sequence if you decide to quit the game. You get a game over after you turn, you say you're ready to quit. And you see what would happen if you were to, actually give up. In the beginning of the game, the bad guy steals Banjo's sister. And you see what happens to Banjo's sister if you quit the game. It's a extremely fun and funny game to play with so much character. And I highly recommend you play it if you haven't. And even if you have played it, it's probably been a while. You should get it out and you could play it now before Ukulele comes out. And Ukulele is gonna be so amazing, don't you agree? So, Banjo Kazooie, get it out, play it again. Ukulele will be here soon. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this soft-spoken video about some of my favorite N64 games. If you did like the video, make sure to remember to hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And also, while you're hitting that subscribe button, notice there's a little bell next to it. And if you click that little bell, you will always be notified when I upload a new video. if you have friends who enjoy ASMR videos, you can also share this video with them. Thank you so much, everybody, and I hope that you have a wonderful day and that you also have a wonderful night. Goodbye.